Our next speaker is Ryan Underwood. Known him for quite a while. He's rather knowledgeable on this topic. Admire this gentleman greatly coming from the Tulsa area, and I'm happy to and pleased to call him a fellow activist. Ryan, come on around. Come on around. You have to step up over here.
Hello. Thank you for joining us today and celebrating an idea. But what is the idea of ending the Federal Reserve? It is really a vision of the future, a future without the predictable yet inevitably destructive booms and busts we have become accustomed to. A future where banks are not dominant institutions determining the direction of our lives ahead of time. A future where your life does not revolve around your credit score. Why do liberty-loving people distrust the banking system? Well, it's the same reason they distrust the government. They see money being raked in, but nothing productive going on. Certainly, banking is defended on the basis that it puts people's money to work in the economy and earns them a return on what they are told is an effort-free and risk-free investment. But interestingly, under a central banking regime, the central bank is the default buyer of all government debt. Government debt eventually becomes the predominant investment throughout the system. Banks that write loans that will not be paid back are allowed to swap these loans with government debt through the central bank. In the end, banks become holders of government debt because it is considered the safest investment. Depositors at banks, in the end, become investors in government debt. But why is government debt the safest investment? It is safe because it is an investment in a form of slavery that is protected by political law, that of compulsory taxation. No other debtor, aside from organized crime, has the power to point a gun at its clients and extract payment so that its own debts can be paid off. And yet this is the very nature of government and its perpetual indebtedness. Why do we accept this kind of treatment? Well, we are told by those who pretend to be our superiors, our managers, that it is all for our own good. Government is the only means to a noble end, after all, that of the protection of life, liberty, and property. We owe the progress of Western civilization to good government. Without government shaping and directing us to noble ends, we would be savages, with life nasty, brutish, and short. And without the ability to issue debt and legally extract payment from subjects by force, the state might be unable to maintain its provision of protection when it comes under economic pressure. We might be exposed to the elements and forced to live unpleasantly. Therefore, we must stop worrying and learn to love government debt, because it enables the state, which we surely could not exist in peace and plenty without. I don't buy it, and neither should you. Young people know that an encounter with the system is likely to have very little to do with their protection, and more to do with protecting established interests that the system serves. Let's look at a few of the things government debt has bought us. Endless, aimless foreign wars with no objective whatsoever. Domestic wars on dissenting citizens like yourselves and non-pharmaceutical drug users. The power to enforce laws that a majority of the population opposes. A welfare state that removes the most powerful disincentives for irresponsible behavior and invites liberty-destroying cost controls to make it sustainable. The list of wealth-destroying and humanity-destroying activities goes on and on. Often what is blamed for the decline in wealth and individual liberty that we see all around us is that there's too much democracy. The 51%, after all, vote to plunder and control the 49%, it is said, which is a symptom of too much democracy. But in reality, there's very little democracy in the world today. The atomic unit of the democratic system is the individual. If it were true that he had too much power, then he would certainly have, at a minimum, the power to say no to the demands of a system that he perceives as plundering and controlling him to his detriment. He would demand that if he were charged with a crime, that a victim of his supposed crime be presented. He would not be made chronically unemployed by minimum wage laws and other labor laws that are supposedly for his own good. If he observed a corrupt state-sponsored enterprise, like the U.S. Mint, he would have the power to compete with it and aim to put it out of business, like the Liberty Dollar tried to do. And he would have the same power to turn away a tax collector that an indebted consumer has to turn away a credit card debt collector. No, the problem is that the demands of the government are considered first and foremost above our own personal goals. And the most fundamental of these demands is that we repay whatever debts the politicians run up, despite our own misgivings about what they have spent the money on, or else we must go to jail. Everyone knows that the Federal Reserve plunders the wealth of people who save in dollars through its inflationary financing of government debt. For that, it is a crooked institution. People can escape the scam by refusing to save their money in dollars and saving in hard assets like gold and silver instead. But what many people do not understand is that the Federal Reserve is a mechanism through which government debt is propagated throughout the entire financial system through open market operations and through outright swaps for private debt. For that, it is not merely a crooked institution, but a criminal institution, because it is participating in a system of slavery for which the individual has no recourse whatsoever, that of government debt. Those who have traditionally financed the Leviathan state have much to lose from the election of the likes of R.J. Harris, or Nathan Dahm, or Randy Brogdon, people who, like Ron Paul did, reject the riches the system could provide them with in favor of ending this corrupt scheme forever. But the system also has much to lose from you withdrawing your consent to it and resolving to get it out of your life. The first thing you can do to get it out of your life is to get it out of your savings and the wealth that you pass down through your family by converting it into gold and silver coins. The second thing you can do is realizing that honest, peaceful people are never going to get what they want out of political government, to stand in moral opposition to what it does, instead of encouraging it and hoping that one day it might use its violent means to serve you. But the most important thing you can do right now to get government out of your life is to continue to support the initiative to audit the Fed and end the Fed by educating people about it and spreading the word. Shining a light on this institution will, in and of itself, reveal the deep falsehoods throughout our political system. And it will hopefully ensure that the end of the third bank of the United States will finally lead to the umpire of human progress finally calling this entire institution of central banking out. Thank you.